Hello everyone, just a quick word from your friendly editor/husband. For all of you who listen to So I'm Watching This Show and own an Android device, do me a favor. Go to the Google Play Store and download the Podcast Republic app. It's a fantastic app that allows you to get all of your favorite podcasts directly on your Android devices. I use the app and love it. I can search for the podcasts I want to listen to, select them as favorites, and have them all just a click away. Make sure you set So I'm Watching the Show as a favorite so you don't miss any new episodes. Again, the app is Podcast Republic, available on your Android device. Thanks!
Okay, so who is Adrienne Palicki? I know her name.
She was on Friday Night Lights.
I didn't watch that.
And she was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I didn't watch that.
And she's on the Orville.
I haven't watched that.
I know her from so much stuff. I just thought she was one of those Universal kind of like
I mean,
C-list.
I hear her name. Is she, did you say B-list?
I said C-list.
C? Okay, C, but not D. Okay.
G.I. Joe Retaliation, didn't you see that?
Yeah, no, I didn't see this, but what I know her from is the Wonder Woman TV show that they tried to launch.
Yes, yeah, she was.
With that awful, awful costume.
Yeah, she was supposed to be Diana.
Yeah. Okay. I was trying to make her Adrienne Curry.
No.
I was succeeding halfway. I was like...
Now, also, that costume is terrible.
It's so bad.
Yeah, real bad.
Okay, hello everybody. I am Will.
And I'm Kristin.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show. On today's episode, we're going to talk about all three John Wick movies. Mm-hmm. And I knew very little about these movies. Nor was I excited, really. You were mostly forcing me.
I was excited.
You were very excited. You have not seen them, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
I mean, I know a lot about them just from the internet, but I've never seen them.
It's entirely mostly outside of my wheelhouse. I don't like organized crime. I mean, I'm fine with action, but it's like it has to be action in something that I'm already interested in. Like, I'm not going to movies for action. The only thing is that I just sort of kept hearing that they were very good, and especially from unlikely sources. Like, most recently, Linda Holmes was talking about how good the first two were. And I was like, well, that's an endorsement.
Because she doesn't like stuff like that very much either.
Yeah, it's not that she doesn't like it, but that's not what she's going for either. But we haven't had a lot of like super topical things lately, and so you wanted to do something, a couple things, you know, this month and the past few months that would at least be, you know, in the zeitgeist. Yeah. So I was like, sure, what the hell?
Nice ride.
Thanks.
How much?
Excuse me?
How much for the car?
She's not for sale.
You have good day, sir.
Daisy.
I lost everything. That dog was a final gift from my dying wife.
Jonathan, you got out once. You dip so much as a pinky back into this pond, you may find something reaching out to pull you back in.
It's personal.
Where'd you get that car?
What does it matter?
It's not what you did, son. It's who you did it to.
Nobody?
That nobody is John Wick.
And so going into it, I knew Keanu Reeves was in it.
Mm-hmm.
I knew he was an assassin.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was neon. I thought there was a lot of neon, and I knew they killed his dog. And that was mostly it. And, you know, we've talked about killing dogs on the podcast. For many people, it's an absolute no-go.
Right.
It used to be for me. Like, I couldn't even, like, utter the phrase, you know. Over time, I guess just because, I mean, I've gotten older and I just so understand that it is fake, that it is a movie.
Yeah.
I've just sort of gotten over it. I don't like it when they don't do it. I don't like it when I don't feel that the story earns it or it doesn't serve a purpose. And I have to say, this is sort of a fascinating example. This is sort of a fascinating movie.
Okay.
Did you have anything that you wanted to say going into it, or?
No, I mean, pretty much the same as you. I knew those couple of things and not much else.
I'm actually not even gonna say it's gratuitous. It is so much. It is so much so, but
The whole movie or the dog?
The dog, killing the dog.
Okay.
But because of that, because we open with that, and I mean, I'm also asking a little bit, but should I do the setup? But I pulled it up. It's a 2014 American neo-noir action thriller directed by Chad Stahelski.
Sure.
And written by Derek Kolstad. It stars Keanu Reeves, Michael Nyquist, it looks like it says.
Yeah.
Alfie Allen, Adrian Palicki, Bridget Moynihan, Dean Winters, Ian McShane, John Leguizamo, and Willem Dafoe. The story focuses on John Wick searching for the men who broke into his home, stole his vintage car, and killed his puppy, which serve as a memento of his recently deceased wife. So that's it. I mean, we sort of open with her. She's already dead.
Yes.
It's like flashbacks. Yeah. And then she gets the puppy. It is an 8-week-old beagle named Daisy. She's the sweetest thing. There are so many just shots of her just like looking at him, and it's so cute. And you in particular have a thing for beagles.
Well, a beagle was my childhood dog, and Loki was super cute, and this dog is giving my dog a run for its money. And she's just so cute. Oh god, no, I love it. It was so terrible. And she made a little yelp when they hit her. It's awful.
Yeah, and don't watch this. You just
definitely don't watch it.
You couldn't handle it,
no,
even
not.
remotely. I mean, I had my blinders up, or my defenses up, so it didn't really bother me that much, although it mostly happens off screen. Although I thought he shot her, and you're right, it is a baseball bat.
It's a baseball bat, yeah. Okay, here is my deal, is like, the hitting of the dog is not gratuitous. What is gratuitous is when John Wick wakes up the next morning, and there is a trail of blood across the floor because the puppy tried to get across the floor to get to him.
Yeah, we don't see it, but the next morning, she's like, her heads are pressed together, and it is
horrible.
It's so heartbreaking. It's so sweet, and then he kind of cradles her and then buries her, and it's the sort of thing that like weirdly it earns the entire movie.
Totally.
It just sort of, there's an exception to every rule, and it is the exception to the don't kill the dog rule, because it just, you have such a gleeful sense, like just this almost euphoria watching him just plow through dozens of people. It's a very violent movie, although it's not particularly gory, which I appreciated.
Yeah, there's obviously, I guess the kill count is 119, and John Wick kills 77 of those.
Oh wow, really? That's more than I.
Yeah, but it's not like icky. It's not like nasty.
It's a lot of like red, like poof, like it's a lot of headshots and like stuff like that, and it's very not frantic, because that sounds a bad way, but it's very high octane. It's very kind of like, I mean, it's often pulsing with like techno music and stuff, and
I actually quite enjoyed this soundtrack.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that I knew. Well, it was funny because I was like, I didn't know that I knew Marilyn Manson's voice. And then Will was like, it's a pretty distinctive voice. And I was like, that is true. I mean, I have a couple songs. I've never bought an album or anything, but I have a good 5 or 6 of his songs. So The Beautiful People,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really enjoyable. I guess the plot is they were Russian.
Yes.
It was Russian mob. And he used to work for them?
No, he just used to be an assassin.
So by default, he had worked with them.
I think he had worked in the same circles. They knew who each other were, but I don't think he worked for the mob.
Well, if you're an assassin for hire, it's...
Oh, I mean, then yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he was part of the Russian mob, but I have a feeling that they had a professional relationship.
He knew Michael Nyquist, for sure.
That was something that I was surprised by and thoroughly enjoyed, was the mythos going into this. I didn't think of this as something that was going to be like a world. And so in that regard, we're in slightly more of like
your territory.
Yeah, exactly. Like Wanted or Kingsman or something.
Will says the second one has more, and that the third one is like gonna be nothing but mythos.
Yeah.
So it should be fun.
And so because I was a little bit wondering, I was like, this is a wafer thin scenario. How are we going to get 3 movies out of this? And the second he gets to the hotel, I was like, oh my God, okay, I'm really into this. And so it's like a hotel for dogs. Like, it's just like this assassins. And who was the guy at the front desk?
His name is Lance Reddick.
I recognized him, but I didn't know.
You would like that because his name is, how do you pronounce the Greek guy that takes you to the afterworld? Or the underworld?
Karen.
Karen, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's his name.
Okay. I liked him a lot. I'm very glad that he's still alive, and I expect him in the next movie.
He is in the second one, and it looks like the third one, and he was in Jonah Hex, if you need that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he's Papa Legba from American Horror Story.
Okay. I knew him.
Yeah.
And so that was interesting. Do you know if there were was that an actual hotel, or was it just for assassins?
No, it's just for assassins.
Okay.
Yeah.
I liked that. I thought the rules were interesting. Who was Ian McShane?
I don't know.
Just another scoundrel?
I suspect we'll find out. He seems more important than just a scoundrel.
Okay.
So I suspect, because I think he's in the next one also.
Well, the whole thing is that Alfie Allen, I do not remember his name, but he's the son of the Russian.
It was Yosef.
Okay. That guy. He's the son of the Russian gangster, like head, top dog, or whatever.
Whose name was Vigo.
Now, he didn't know who John Wick was, correct? That was by chance.
This, Alfie Allen did not know.
Okay. By chance, he just decided that he wanted John Wick's car, and John Wick won't sell it to him, so then he decides to go take it, and in doing so, that's when he kills his dog. And pretty quickly, everybody figures out what's going on. And so, you said Vigo?
I honestly, yeah, Vigo is Michael Nyqvist's name. I fucking loved it because, you know, Alfie Allen was like, whatever, it's just a fucking dog. And he wouldn't stop saying it's just a dog the whole time. But literally every time someone else found out about it, they were like, fuck, man, you killed his dog. They're like, that, you can't come back from that.
And that was really interesting because Vigo even tries to like make amends with John Wick. He calls him and he's like, let's be reasonable here.
Yeah.
And John Wick is like, no dice.
Yeah.
And it just, that sort of, it's like an avenging angel type of thing. And yeah, it really, it was a surprise. It honestly feels like, and I mean this as a compliment, but it feels like a pre-existing property. Like it feels like a comic book or graphic novel or something that was adapted.
I thought that too.
Is it, or do?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I asked Will, and he said no, he didn't think so either. So I agree with you. It does feel like it's based on something. And I did want to say, I was reading the trivia, and they compared it a little bit to Constantine, because now I've only seen that once, but I guess there's like a place where you also can't do violence against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, in that way, they're very similar with like the background mythos and stuff. And I agree. I think it feels kind of like that if you took all the god out.
We should do Constantine. I really loved it when it came out, and I have not revisited it since. I think it's one of those that it's not a good, I think it's like a noble failure.
Yeah, I remember enjoying it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where it's like, it's not great, but all of the parts of it were great.
Yeah.
It doesn't it suffer from Shia LaBeouf? Isn't there Shia LaBeouf in it?
I don't think it suffers from him, though.
I think it's before he kind of like...
Yeah, I was like, if I remember, he's actually like a kind of charming part of that movie.
Okay. There was, I just remember there was a few movies that he was sort of like persona non grata in, and I couldn't remember if that was one of them. That was
back in 2005. That was well before he got there, I think.
I like him fine as what he does, but he's not in this, so it doesn't matter. So
correct.
I was just impressed that it's like, you know, we're in a world of like franchise and sequel fatigue and all of that. Here comes something pretty by the numbers. I mean, a pretty standard revenge epic, but it manages to feel kind of new and kind of fresh, and granted, it then launched into a franchise of its own, but...
Well, sure, but I mean, if you're going to keep your franchise new and fresh, there's no... not based on a pre-existing property, I mean, there's no reason not to. Plus...
And I don't mind 2 or 3 good movies in the same world.
No, of course. And I want to say, and I said it on Twitter, I think Keanu Reeves is a really exciting action star, and I think he has been for a really long time, to the point where now I think his direct competition is Tom Cruise, and I think he's better at it than Tom Cruise.
Do you really? That is a...
I do, and I do love the Mission Impossible movies, but I find Keanu Reeves overall more charming.
He's more palatable.
It's not fake. It's not like fake charm.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to come out bravely so as being pro Alfie Allen.
Oh yeah, no, we've been pro Alfie Allen for a while.
Well, he plays roles. He plays some parts. But I think he's a nice guy. I've seen him in some interviews and stuff, and he's certainly the roles that need to be played.
Yeah, I wanted to say
he makes such a good little shit. Like
that's part of what I was gonna say. Shit, where did it go?
Go ahead. Sorry, go for it.
So the directors were concerned about how the audience would react to all of the death within the film, especially the puppy. So when casting the character of Yosef, they wanted someone who looked like a complete prick. Consequently, they met Alfie Allen and thought he was perfect for the role. And then in parentheses it says, and also a very nice person.
He's very sweet. And so when you take that into account, I actually think he's very cute. But when he's being... seasons 1 through 4 Theon and this character, he's like smarmy, he's like disgusting. But I also know him because he's Lily Allen's younger brother. Yeah. And one of my favorite songs of hers is about him, and it's actually kind of about him being worthless. But
I don't think I ever knew that.
Have I never? If I have played it for you, it's been a decade. The song Alfie.
I feel like I've heard Alfie, but I don't remember the content.
She basically complains that all he does is get high in his room, and she wants him to get out and actually do some stuff with his life. And then he did. Then he did Equus.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say, if that was 10 years ago, he's done quite a lot since then.
Yeah, I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I really enjoyed it. And one thing that I enjoyed is the lack of gratuitous violence to, like, women and innocents, aside from the dog.
There was, like, no violence against women except Adrian Palicki, who was totally asking for it.
She was in on it. She was also an interesting character. I enjoy, realistic depictions of females in these types of male-dominated world.
Yeah, same.
And she was interesting. I can't say that I'm sad to lose her, and especially because I think we're getting more in that vein.
In that vein, yeah, for sure. And I think Bridget Regan might stick around.
Ooh,
she was the bartenderess.
Okay, right. I know Halle Berry's in the third one, so.
Ew, really?
Yes.
All right.
She was fine in Kingsman.
She was fine in Kingsman, that's true.
You don't like Halle Berry?
I do. I really want to like Halle Berry, but my problem is that she is really bad at picking roles for herself.
Oh, I liked Harry for what little he was in, and I was very sad when Adrian Palicki, what was her name? Perkins. When she killed him.
Fucking shot him. I was bummed about that too.
Also, I love that John Wick burned all of his money and all of his treasures and stuff.
Vigos, yeah.
Oh, it was so good.
It was very good.
I actually really enjoyed it. So he wins. He wins in the end, and he got a new dog. We don't know if it was a boy or a girl, but it was a
really pretty blue pit bull. Yeah.
Okay, it was a pit. So I feel better about her chances.
Yeah, I think she's fine. I think she makes it through the second one.
We'll see.
Yeah.
If this is a Taken. Well, actually, they don't take. Or does she get taken the second time? I've only seen the first movie.
I think they both get taken in the second one. I think Famke Janssen is there as well.
Because isn't that the line in Happy Endings where Alex is like, consider
yourself taken?
No, she's like, consider your TV.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson's daughter because this bitch is taken, and she's like, you consider your remote Liam Neeson's wife because this bitch is also taken
too. Yeah.
This bitch taken too. There you go. Yeah. So, okay, well that was Taken. No, I'm kidding. So I think we're gonna watch John Wick 2, and we'll be back to chat about that for a little bit. And
yes, we will.
See you on the other side.
Alrighty.
Mr. Wick, do enjoy your party.
How good to see you again so soon.
You have no idea what's coming.
You want a war?
Or do you want to just give me a gun? John Wick. You're not very good at retiring.
I'm working on it.
Okay, we just watched John Wick Chapter 2. I really enjoyed it, and I also don't have a ton to say.
I don't have a real lot either.
What did you think?
I really liked it, actually. I do think I liked it a little bit more than the first one because of all the world building and the, like, just seeing how, like, deep and how far across the world this organization spans. It was really a lot of fun.
I think it's interesting that when the first movie was done, I was like, okay, cool, we're done. And then this movie started, and I was like, oh, we're not done.
We're not done.
I like that it's, I mean, this is an awkward comparison because the movies aren't similar, but it's not like Pitch Perfect franchise where it was like the first movie is really all you need. The second and third one are fun. Like, they're nice if you want more, but it's like, it wasn't like with John Wick 2, they were trying to replicate the success of the first one. It was like, oh, there really was more to do in this world. And I find that impressive.
Yeah, evidently it was always planned as a trilogy.
Okay.
So this third one coming out will presumably be the end of it.
Sure, okay.
Which I'm into. I mean, if they kept going and this was like a Mission Impossible thing, then by all means.
That's kind of where I'm at. I also really enjoy the world building, and it got to a place where it's like, we're definitely not dealing with anything like supernatural, but we're hard in like an Illuminati place now that I'm just kind of weirdly into it. It was even reminding me a lot of the Adjustment Bureau.
Yeah, I can see that. I get that for sure.
So when I said we weren't done, you know, he didn't get his car back. So
in the first one,
yeah, we start with that, and it was the brother of Vigo, and it was played by Peter Stormare, who I apparently love.
Yeah, they are also funnily, I only realized it when I was reading the trivia for this one. They are both playing Russian mobsters, but they are both Swedish.
Oh, that is very funny.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they're calling him Baba Yaga. I think that's lazy. I mean, I get the whole boogeyman thing, but there's plenty of figures in Slavic folklore that they could have, I don't know.
Yeah, they could have chosen instead.
Yeah, instead of like a very specifically female one. I don't know. It was weird. But we've had a lot of that recently. I'm kind of like, is Baba Yaga the new Yakuza?
Probably.
So the plot of this one is that because he came out of, I guess he struck some deal with the D'Antonio family.
Yeah.
And that's how he got out. But in doing so, he made what'd they call it? A mark?
A marker. It's like a blood pact.
Yeah, with Santino D'Antonio, where basically Santino can tap him back in for like one favor. It was a voucher, basically.
Yeah.
But I guess he can only use it if John Wick voluntarily came out of retirement?
That's what it seemed like. I think he could have used it anyway, but he had the one line where he was like, I was willing to let it go if you had stayed away, but you came back, and so now I'm calling it in.
Interesting, you know, and I'm very vocal about not loving organized crime and all that stuff, but this was going epic in a way that I was really into. Basically, it's like an organization. Were they calling it the Round Table?
The High Table.
Right, the High Table. It's like an organization, and it's mob families. I mean, it's kind of what you expect, and the implication is that there's so many seats. And so when D'Antonio's father died? Did he say he died?
That I did not catch.
I think he died, and he left his seat to Santino's sister, Gianna. And the assumption was that she was a pretty good ruler, or whatever you would call them. But we had to go to Italy. I don't remember if I said, but Santino wanted her dead. He wants her seat.
Yes.
And so that's what he's enlisted John Wick to do. And so they do that. They go to Italy, to Rome. That was awesome and gorgeous. There was like catacombs and stuff. And, you know, it's a very me observation. It's a very me thing. But I was like riveted by the scene of John Wick with Gianna.
Yes. Oh, God. So
in
good.
Like the bath. And it's like, I don't know who that woman is. Her name is Claudia Guarini. But she was very, very interesting, and I was immediately drawn to her. And I like the whole thing. I like how the people within the world treat everything. It's just the code of honor and the code of conduct, and it's like it was going mythical for me almost. And because I even made a comment to you that I was like, this is giving me some Mount Olympus shit in like an abstract way.
Yeah, I definitely saw it. It was doing that for me as well. It just was. I'll say, if I've learned one thing from these movies, it's that assassins love bathhouses. I just like can't wait for the bathhouse in John Wick 3. But yeah, it was beautifully done. It was really well lit. Her whole vibe was really cool.
Her whole scene where she was like, I thought we were friends, and he was like, we are. And she's like, then why are you here? And he's like, I have to be. And so she like strips down and gets in the bath and like opts to kill herself, which, I kind of like that. It was very Cleopatra, and
yeah.
She took her hairpiece out and slit her own wrist without like so much as a squirm.
Yeah, like without a second thought. Because she was like, this is what's happening now.
You said something, you were like, oh my god, like, well, I forgot what you said, but you remarked, and I was like, I think she's a bad bitch.
Well, it's not a question of just this movie, it's every time there's a suicide by wrist slitting in a movie, they do one wrist and then the second one with the wrist they just cut. And I'm like, how do you make your muscles do the second one?
She did it the right way too. She did. So, because John Wick, this fucking Santino, because John Wick killed his sister, he now wants revenge. So he put a hit out on John Wick. Yeah. And I mean, I get it. And the scene where he had kind of like a foot soldier we had several. He had Common was hers, was Gianna's. And so the implication was that Common and John were friends as well. But now he has to avenge his mistress, I guess.
Yeah.
He called her a ward.
Yeah, it was all a little bit strange where I'm sort of like, at what point does one relationship trump the other?
It's also very Kill Bill that way.
Yeah.
But Ruby Rose, her name was Ares, and she was deaf, I suppose. She was communicating in ASL the entire time, and I actually really enjoyed that.
It was great. It was such a weird, interesting, cool tweak, I guess. And but for like no reason. It wasn't necessary. But it was really cool.
And it wasn't really explained. We just figured it out. We just were there. But at least that I recall, there was a lot happening. The stuff with the like 1940s telephone ladies, that was really,
The accounts payable.
I was really into all of it, to be honest.
I did want to say, too, I forgot to say it in the first one, and these ones were even a little bit more, but whenever there were captions, specifically with Ruby Rose, but some of the times when they were speaking Italian, they came up on the screen in a really interesting way.
They would usually emphasize one of the words with like color and stuff.
Which is another one of the things that's sort of like, are we sure this isn't based on a comic book franchise? Because that feels like something they would do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I really enjoyed all of it.
Yeah, I did too. So basically Santino put a hit out on John Wick for $7 million for a lot of people. I don't think it was everybody, but it was a lot of people, certainly the country. And they all were trying to get him. This one was definitely a little bit gorier.
There were 3 fewer deaths, according to the IMDb trivia.
Well, we got to see the pencil trick.
We did see the pencil.
Pencil trick. I mean, it plays out fairly, not in a bad way, not predictably, but it plays out as you would expect. And John Wick chases Santino to, what did they call the hotel again? The
Oh, shit, I literally just had it.
Constant or the...
Oh, fuck. The Continental.
Continental. So John chased Santino to the Continental, where he was being just the worst.
The worst, exactly.
Basically, Hunchback style, called Sanctuary, and was like, I can hang out here for weeks. And John was like, not on my watch. And he was like, bang! And then Ian McShane was like, what have you done? And so, as we saw in the first movie with Perkins, he just killed Perkins for breaking the rules. But
yeah,
it also feels like I appreciate it. I'm fine with it. I'm not going to pull at this thread. But, in 2 movies, we've seen 2 people break these rules. So it kind of feels like these rules get broke all the time.
My opinion on that is that I feel like the rules are getting broken because of John Wick.
These are very specific circumstances.
Yeah.
But I liked all the people, the what's the word? Is it busker?
Yeah.
The busker, that she was an assassin, and there was like but
I mean, they all have so much money, so that means she just feels like playing violin in the subway for fun.
Well, she has to do something to like sustain her soul.
Okay.
And like the homeless people, and probably not all of them, but some of them work for a different organization with Lawrence Fishburne. And just, I was really into it. But where this ended is that Winston, Ian McShane, called John Wick for a meeting. Well, his dog, we haven't mentioned the dog. He had the dog in the whole movie, and the dog was being taken care of by Karen.
Mm-hmm.
And the dog is not named, but he is called Good Boy, essentially.
Yeah.
And so John Wick went home with Good Boy, and then Winston called him to a meeting, and so he came, and Winston's kind of like, I'm only, giving you this because I like you, but he's like, the gig is up, and he didn't do it. Somebody, the cooperative, I don't know, whatever the organization is, has now doubled the hit on him.
Yeah.
And put it global. So now there's like a $14 million hit on his head, and it's been sent to everyone. And so it's John Wick has an hour head start. So it's him and Good Boy against the world. And that's where
I suspect that's exactly where we'll pick up in the in the third one.
I mean, even John Leguizamo, even he got the call and stuff. There were
legit everybody got the call. And I feel like there's going to be some people who refuse, who aren't going to do it, but yeah.
Well, Willem Dafoe is still out there.
I thought he got hella killed.
Oh, he did. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got hella killed. That's right. A lot was happening.
Yeah, so. A lot has happened. It's been a busy day.
I kind of wish there was a character or two that we knew that wasn't a part of this, and then there was a reveal when the big call went out that they were something yeah. I was waiting for a twist like that. I guess the John Leguizamo was kind of close to that, but I'm really enjoying it. I mean, it's not necessarily something that I'm gonna be obsessed about, but
yeah,
I enjoyed it more than I anticipated I would.
Good.
So yeah, I'm ready for the third one. Let's do this.
Me too. Yeah.
Are services still off limits to me?
What do you need?
Guns. Lots of guns.
You think you can take John Wick? You've got a nasty surprise coming.
I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time. And so far, you haven't disappointed.
All of this for what? Because of a puppy?
Wasn't just a puppy.
Okay, so we just saw John Wick 3, which was kind of confoundingly, or not really confounding, but it was called Parabellum. Did that word have anything to do with anything?
It did. It's part of the it's part of that thing that Ian McShane says at the end. If you want peace, prepare for war. But it's in Latin. Prepare for war is parabellum.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew that. I don't know about you. I don't imagine having a ton to say, but don't mistake that for me not liking the movie or the movie not being good.
Yeah, I mean, we already did half an episode on the first two.
Yeah, so. It's this one in particular. I mean, all three of them and the first two are great action movies, but this one I felt was wall-to-wall action. It was the Stephen Sondheim of action.
I will say it did deepen the mythology even further, which was a lot of fun. I mean, in the first place, it picks up 1 minute after the second one finished, which is kind of amazing. And then it goes from there. And again, just like the other ones, it takes place over maybe 2 days.
Yeah.
They were time traveling in those planes. Him getting from Morocco to New York and stuff.
Yeah, it really did expand upon the world building. It's not quite at risk of breaking it for me, but I will say one of the things that I kind of am a little bit wondering is, what is this world feasibly like?
Yeah.
Who are the civilians in this world? Because I mean, by this point, I feel like everybody is an assassin.
Yeah, certainly. They at least pretty much, it's certainly John Wick, but they all seem to take pains not to hurt civilians.
Yeah.
which is nice.
Well, and I heard somebody complain about it being, I don't remember who it was, but somebody was like, it was really weird that they were like killing people in broad daylight and the civilians weren't reacting. And that wasn't weird to me because they were doing it very subtly. And also it was like New York City. So that was almost, we talked about it a little bit with the Halloween sequel last year, where it was like the fact that so many things were happening either in broad daylight or in crowded spaces and people didn't know.
Right.
That's like really crazy and unnerving to me.
Uh-huh.
Oh, one thing that I appreciate that this movie did, considering that it is wall-to-wall action, is they really found ways to have it not be monotonous.
Well, I think almost every fight had a different, distinct element to it. Like the fight in the beginning in the like
antiques room.
Well, first the fight in the library.
Well, yeah,
was interesting, and then the fight in the antiques room was like basically using whatever's at hand. The fight with Halle Berry had dogs. And then the fight at the end, he was up against two people with swords and knives and all that glass.
It was kind
smashing.
of like Clue.
Yeah.
It was like a character, a room, and a weapon.
Yeah, exactly. And I did want to say, just because I thought it was hilarious, Will leaned over to me during the antique store
I wrote it down.
and he said, this is like who's on first with knives. And I just thought that was so hilarious because it's true. It was really, really funny. And
I wrote down the who's on first of stabbing.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting how, you know, because one of the things that came out of the first season of Daredevil was I think that like episode 2 fight in that's the hallway fight. It's like episode 2 or 3. I like how people have started being really specific about fights in tight spaces. And all of these fights, with the exception of the dogs, were in like relatively tight or enclosed spaces. And I think that is like a good way to make it feel more unique.
Well, yeah, and it also was just, I mean, that's the point of these types of movies. You have to know what you're doing. But I was going to say, I don't know if it's like the editing, the choreography, the direction or whatever, but it was like I was actually, for the most part, really able to keep a grasp on what was happening.
Yeah.
When you consider that it was like 3 men in suits with like weapons and, you know, a lot of neon lighting. And it's like I didn't get super confused. I was able to follow it and able to and also it like, this is something we've talked about a little bit, and I feel weird saying that I like violence, but it's like, because I'm not going to movies for gore, but occasionally if it's used a certain way, it becomes kind of delirious. Like there were things that happened in this movie that if I saw them in another movie that I wasn't prepared for, it would have taken me completely out. Like I would have gotten nauseous.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I was going to say,
like the slow motion eye stabbing.
That was a little rough even for me.
I cackled.
It was funny. It was funny. But what I wrote down a note, it must have been around that time. It was definitely during the antique store fight. There's something where it's different than like, and I was comparing it again to Tom Cruise action movies, like specifically Mission Impossible, because they feel on par with each other. There's something very like perfect about the Tom Cruise action. It's very rehearsed. It's very methodical, I guess is the word I want. But there's something very gleeful about the violence in John Wick. It's like, it's very fun and it's very interesting. And I still think he is a more interesting action star than Tom Cruise. I think Keanu Reeves, I would rather watch him make action movies for the rest of his life than Tom Cruise.
Well, I mean, we're in that boat. That is a possibility for both.
It definitely is a possibility, but there's something a lot more frenetic about these John Wick movies. It doesn't feel like it's rehearsed to death. And that was the other thing. I think Will told us. Yeah, I think Will told us after we had stopped recording the first two. The guy who's directing these movies was the like stunt coordinator or something on all of the Matrix movies. So like that's why I think it all looks so good.
And I mean, you touched on Keanu Reeves, and I was going to come back to him where I was going to say, you know, I like him fine. I don't have any particular sway either way. I'm like, okay, cool. But some of the movies we've watched him in, like Dangerous Liaisons and Dracula, he's in over his head.
For sure.
And he's not quite renowned for his acting talents. but he's so good in these movies, and it's not even that, like, it's not even as simple as being like, oh, well, it's because it's all action or because it's all this, because he has a handful of moments, especially in this one. I don't quite remember the first two because that was such a whirlwind when we watched them, but he has a couple of moments in this one where it's very funny.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it just sort of, and like, the thing that I am the most intrigued by with this franchise is the world building, because they call it the high table, and I just kind of automatically conflate that to the round table. So I feel like this is an ancient order that's been in effect for like the better part of a millennia.
Okay.
And when you were talking about the violence being so gleeful, it's a little bit easier because it's like everybody that we're seeing is like participating, is like choosing to participate in this reality.
Yeah.
And I mean, in most action movies, there is an element of that, but it's like if you're partaking in a secret order, then that's on you. Like that,
right.
That pink mist is on you.
No, totally. I totally agree. There was a buttload of pink mist in this movie.
So much pink mist. And the phrase people kept using was double tap, which I'm assuming means shot twice.
Twice, yeah.
Yeah. Because did you watch the video Will sent of Halle Berry?
I did,
training?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was crazy. That was also kind of refreshing because we give her a hard time. We don't always love her in things. And to have her be so good in something.
She was so good in this. I have never thought she was a bad actress. I think she has a really hard time choosing roles. And I don't 100% think she deserves her Oscar for the movie she won it for. Mm-hmm. But I'm fine with her. And if anything, I wish she had been in more of this movie because they really used her to advertise it kind of a lot. And she was in like 2 scenes. And I was pretty bummed when we were done with her.
I think we're going to keep her around. And that's the point I initially started making when I was talking about the mythology is I like how much they tell us, but also how much we still don't know.
Yeah.
Like, Angelica Houston's character was fascinating to me and very welcome. And she's exactly the type of person that I expect from this world.
Yeah.
And we got such a sense of who she is with so little.
Well, yeah, she's Angelica Houston.
Yeah, well,
she's imbuing it with like more than is on the page.
But it's like we get that she was like a mother figure to him. And, you know, I don't know what she was doing with all of these like tatted up ballerinas, but I want more. And
I agree. And I literally, when that started happening, I was like, is this a better Black Widow movie than we're going to get eventually? I was like, it feels better than what we're going to get.
And they just kind of, the characters, they have these, it is like a video game or like a RPG or something where it's like, you know, what did they call?
The Bowery
King or the Adjudicator. And I really liked Asia Kate Dillon.
Mm-hmm.
To my understanding, they are gender non-binary. So
the Adjudicators or Asia?
Asia is.
Okay.
So I was trying to do that right, but I thought they were really interesting. And I liked that they didn't get a ton of like action, and they were almost, I don't know, it was really funny. And that's another thing that's like, I shouldn't be too surprised, but I was kind of surprised at how funny and gleeful this is.
Yeah.
Because the little bit that you hear about it, aside from everybody telling you it's so good, is it's like you think it's going to be this slog. You think it's going to be this like revenge.
Like dour and kind of like upsetting. And it actually is like, that's I think why I glommed onto the word gleeful, because it's like, you know, John Wick is still sad. He is still mourning. He's still wearing his wedding ring for most of the movie. And it's, you know, it's very sad. He's a widower. He, you know, the dog got killed. He found this other dog, but whatever. But it's not like he's slogging through the world, you know? Like, he knows that he has a mission to do, and he's not gonna be like a dick about it. He's gonna get his job done, and he's gonna have a good time doing it, because he's good at it.
Yeah. And I did want to go back to Sophia's dogs. That was so cool, I feel like. And because of the type of movie it is, you really get the sense that I wasn't really all that nervous for them. And also, I mean, mild spoiler. We didn't really do like a spoiler thing, but I also feel like this isn't quite that kind of movie, but
spoiler alert, John Wick lives at the end. I don't know what else you want from me.
I was going to be like, I wasn't really worried about the dogs. And mind you, this is a movie in which a dog is shot.
Yeah.
And she, I don't know if they said, but it survives. It's wearing a bulletproof vest, but it still is rather shocking. And so, and then, you know, on that note, we're thrilled when there's a lot of crotch shots, kicking to the crotch and biting of crotch and crotch and neck. I wrote there's like a lot happening with crotches and necks.
Yeah.
Because the really, really, really tall dude in the library in the beginning, you had missed it. You were like looking down or something. But Keanu like had a book. Like, he was standing it up, and he, like, slammed the guy down and, like, $1 million babied his neck on the book.
Oh, my God.
It was crazy, and that's when I was like, holy shit, because the guy was so big that you're like, how are we going to do this? And I was like, well, that's one way.
Crazy.
So, yeah, I mean, I honestly think that's mostly what I have to say. I guess I should also remark that, and I don't know his name, from Iron Chef, Mark...
Oh shit, yeah, I did.
Dacascos? Mark Dacascos?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. He's in this movie. He's really great. He's kind of effectively the big bad. And again, I mean, you're
funny.
I wrote down in my notes too, I have the word gleeful. Mm-hmm. It's just so, yeah. So if this is even remotely your bag, or even if it's not, I mean, if you're, you know, a girl going on a date with a guy and you're like, I mean, I guess... You could be stuck in worse movies.
For sure. I mean, keep your mind open.
SWAT to impress a guy.
All of what?
SWAT.
Oh.
I pretended to like it.
Yeah, I mean.
The couple behind us, the dude was explaining the movie to her as it was happening. So you could tell that she hadn't seen them. And by the end, she had taken over. Where she was like predicting and reacting and like saying things to him. It was really
nice. Funny. That's nice.
So yeah, did you have anything else you wanted to touch on, or?
Let's see.
It does appear we're not done.
Yeah, that's the bigger thing that I was going to talk about is, you know, I think I mentioned it in one of the earlier movies that it was always intended as a trilogy. Well, it is hella open-ended. Mm-hmm. Going out of this movie. There is definitely places for it to go. So I'm very curious if they're going to keep going. I would say as long as Keanu Reeves wants to do it, keep doing it.
Well, I was also literally about to say it's the kind of world that with the proper casting, we can branch out into it. I feel
also
like.
That, yeah. Also that for sure. Also,
I'd watch a Sophia movie.
Yeah, and there's no reason why you can't have, you know, if Keanu Reeves gets tired of it, put him in the Ian McShane role. And have him, you know, mentoring younger assassins or something. There's definitely places for it to go, but as it stands now, you know, for a while in the movie, you think we've lost Lawrence Fishburne, and then it turns out he's still alive at the end, which is also
it's that
fun.
Kind of reality that someone can survive like 12 slashes to the face.
Yeah, it's very. I really, really enjoyed it a lot. Oh, I actually did want to talk about the adjudicator for a minute more because it was so funny. The adjudicator is in their room and Ian McShane is like in a vault and they're just like keeping themselves safe while John Wick is killing everybody. And then finally the adjudicator calls Ian McShane and is like, I think we should have a parlay. And it's like, yeah, because all of your people are dead. And Ian McShane is like, sure, why not? It was just like, that's, I think, how funny it is, what you were talking about when it doesn't really have a right to be as funny as it turns out to be.
Well, because the adjudicator, at no point do they ever, like, lose their cool.
Yeah. No, it's incredible. It's incredible.
They were in total control even when they were losing. Yeah.
Right. And I did also want to mention that at the end, when the adjudicator calls to get the Continental New York deconsecrated, the person on the other end of the line was Robin Lord Taylor, who was most recently playing Penguin on Gotham. And I feel like that's a weird like one scene role for him. So that also makes me think that we're going to probably have more, because that was the other accountant at the beginning, I think, was the mom from Queer as Folk. So
yeah. I kept weirdly trying to make it Julie Walters, which I would have accepted that.
Yeah, I lied. She's not the mom from Queer as Folk, but she looks just like her.
Okay.
But I just was like, that's a weird role to give him to then not have any more movies for him to be in. So I'm curious about that. Overall, amazing. I had such a good time. It's not even just over 2 hours, and it doesn't feel like it. That could have been a 90-minute movie because the pace is just so at a clip. But yeah, I don't have a ton more to say. I'm like you. I mean, it's really good action, really good movie, but I mean, there's not like a ton of substance.
Yeah, no.
But it's fun. It's still super fun.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Play us out with Battle Royale by Apache.
Sweet. All right.
It's so good. It's so good. It samples Requiem by Verdi. It's so good.
Okay, cool.
No, I actually found it. It was in the trailers for the second movie, and I had forgotten about it. And then I saw this like badass Marvel edit using it.
Ooh.
And that's when I like downloaded it. But yeah, it's
cool.
really great.
All right. Well, as always, you can follow us on Twitter @SoI'mWatching, Instagram @SoI'mWatchingTheShow. We are also on Facebook and Tumblr, So I'm Watching This Show. You can also now find us on YouTube, and everything links out from our website, soimwatching.com. And I guess we will have that song Battle Royale on the Spotify playlist, So I'm Watching This Show, the music. And other than that, you can just rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. And that's it for us.
Put a little dirt on them. Put a little dirt on them.